Darkness ruled the edge of the galaxy. There were no suns, no moons, no light, just cold space, ancient and forgotten. Nothing lived there. Nothing ever had. Or so the map said. But one day, in that black silence, a signal was born. It screamed. Through the void like a wounded animal. It's not a message of peace, not a request. Raw, broken cry for help, full of panic, fear, and death. It was not meant for Earth. It was not meant to escape. But somehow, it did. And the moment that signal reached Earth's outer relay station, everything changed. The signal came in like static at first, just noise among thousands of daily transmissions. But as the deep space filters processed it, strange patterns formed. Hidden inside the sound was a pulse, like a heartbeat. Then came the voices, garbled and alien, speaking in a language no translator could decode. A technician named Lena Tran was on night shift at listening post for 7C, a small base orbiting Pluto. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't a hero. But she was the first human to hear the scream from the dark. And it chilled her blood. She ran it. Through filters, AI processors, language reconstructors, still no clear message. But she heard things. Whispers, screams, explosions. Something was happening, or had already happened. Something terrible. She sent the file to Earth Command, tagging it as Level 9 unknown threat. Most such warnings were ignored. Not this time. The signal spread fast across classified channels. Experts from military, science, and intelligence departments gathered for emergency meetings. The source was Track Sector XG991, a region beyond any known civilization. Place officially marked on star charts as dead space, no life detected. But the signal was real. Something was begging for help. Admiral Soren Kale, the man who once led Earth's final war against the Raxari Empire, was called in from retirement. Known as the Butcher of Red Nebula, he was feared even among Earth's allies. Quiet, ruthless, and brilliant, he had commanded Earth's secret fleet, the Deathworlders. They were not ordinary soldiers. They were trained to fight wars. No one else could survive. Born from Earth's harshest environments, enhanced by tech, hardened by fire, Deathworlders were Earth's response to a galaxy that had tried many times to conquer them. The Council didn't want to use them again. They were dangerous. Too dangerous. But Admiral Kale looked at the signal for 5 minutes, stood up and said only 2 words. Deploy them. Within hours, coded orders were sent. Hidden under the oceans, buried in asteroids, and floating in black space, the Deathworlder ships came alive. Sleek black hulls, cloaking systems, hyperdrive engines powered by stolen alien tech. The fleet had no name on record, no flag, no lights. But every ship bore a symbol, a red X slashed through a shattered planet. The message was clear, we answer. When no one else can? As the fleet prepared for launch, another disturbing detail emerged. A second signal had been hidden within the first, slower, deeper, almost like a warning. This one was simpler. It's translated into dozens of languages. It only said, "They are coming, do not follow." But Earth didn't run from threats. Earth had learned long ago that waiting meant dying. Something out there had destroyed a civilization capable of sending signals across galaxies. Then, Earth had to be ready. Admiral Kale stood aboard the command ship Deliverance, looking out at the black horizon. Around him floated Earth's most dangerous weapons, the silent armada of the Deathworlders. Soldiers trained on Death Valley, Siberia, deep-sea trenches, volcano edges, Marines whose bones had been replaced with carbon-threaded alloy, snipers who could see through walls, AI pilots who thought faster than light. This was not a rescue mission. This was a message to the stars. If you scream, we will hear, and we will come, and still. No one knew what had really happened out there. The journey took less than 3 days using forbidden slipspace tunnels. Earth never admitted it had such tech. But the Deathworlders used it when speed was everything. As the fleet tore through space, the signal grew louder, more clear. Not in language, but in emotion. Even hardened soldiers felt it in their minds. Pressure, sadness, despair. Something inside that transmission wanted to be heard. Even after death, when they arrived in Sector XG991, There was no welcome, no friendly beacon, just floating wreckage. Planetary rings made of burned ships, broken moons, radiation storms. The planet that sent the signal designated SR-73 was almost gone. A deep black wound in space sat where it should have been. Only fragments remained, spinning, slowly like drifting bones. It had not been bombed. It had been erased. Scanning drones swept the system. There were no life signs, no power signals, no enemy fleet. Just one faint reading deep inside an asteroid belt. A stealth shuttle was deployed. Inside, a small team of Deathworlders moved toward the signal. The asteroid was cracked open like an egg. Inside was a bioshelter, barely functioning. Lights flickered. Air was thin. The temperature dropped every minute. And there she was. A creature lay against a glowing wall.
Ow.
Her skin like glass, her eyes like liquid silver. One arm missing. Wounds across her body.
Ow.
She was dying. But she opened her eyes as the soldiers entered. No weapons, no fight. She reached out a trembling hand. "Please," she whispered. "They will come back." One of the medics stepped forward, his voice calm. "Who did this?" She looked past him, into the black sky. "Not who, what, they? Take, they burn, they feed. You should not have come." And then she died. The signal stopped. Back on the command ship, Admiral Kale listened to the medic's report. He stood silent for a long time. His officers watched him, waiting for orders. Then, he said quietly, "Alert Earth Command." This was not a rescue. This was a warning. Whatever did this is still out there. And in the silence of that broken system, surrounded by ashes and ruins, the Deathworlder fleet turned toward the shadows, their weapons armed, their lights off. No sound, no mercy. They were Earth's final answer to the galaxy's darkest questions. And they had just heard the first whisper of something far worse than war. The galaxy had forgotten Earth once. Long ago, when humanity was still climbing out of its own wars, the stars laughed at the little blue planet. Empires ignored it. Federations rejected it. And when Earth finally joined the galactic community, it was as a second-class world, weak, young, unproven. But that was before the fires of the first. Contact war, before Earth taught the stars what a death world truly meant. Before the Deathworlders were born. Now, as the signal from SR-73 faded into silence, Earth moved, quietly, without lights, without fanfare. The secret fleet, hidden in the dark for over a decade, woke up. Its soldiers had waited for this day not with excitement, but purpose. They knew their existence was a weapon, and weapons were meant to be used when all other options failed. The fleet was not part of Earth's regular defense. Ships weren't seen at peace summits or parade flyovers. Media knew their names. No civilians had ever seen their crews. They had no public records, no call signs, no nation flags. They existed in shadows above laws, outside borders. Their only authority came from a secret council known as Echo Protocol. Even Earth's president didn't have full access to them. Admiral Soren Kale walked the command deck of the Deliverance, his long coat brushing the polished floor as he passed lines of silent operators. None spoke unless ordered. Every screen glowed with encrypted data, warp routes, radiation signatures. Decryption progress on the alien signal. Silence was not fear. It was discipline perfectly tuned from years of black ops. Warfare in space, no one dared map, as Earth debated what the signal meant on public channels. The Deathworlder fleet already had orders. Investigate, respond, eliminate if needed. The fleet was massive, but not bloated. Every ship served a single brutal purpose: destruction, infiltration, or extermination. The Deliverance was a mobile war fortress, nearly 5 kilometers long, shaped like a dagger of obsidian steel. No windows, no insignia, no communication beacons. Its interior was all function carbon walls, reinforced airlocks, drone bays, cryovaults. At its heart, the Abyss core, a stolen alien reactor that pulsed like a beating heart, powering experimental. Weapons that didn't officially exist. Flanking it were support destroyers, each with names like Ruin, Furyborn, Veilbreaker. They carried troops, trained not just for zero-G combat, but for every type of alien warfare imaginable: acidic atmospheres, time-shifting gravity, hive swarms, psionic fields. Earth had learned from every enemy it had crushed. The Deathworlders were the result of that learning. Every Deathworlder was born on Earth's harshest zones: deserts, where the sun cooked the bones, frozen peaks where blood turned to ice, ocean trenches with crushing pressure. Those who survived childhood were offered a choice: stay or join a program that turned survivors into monsters the galaxy feared. Most chose to fight. Commander Amani Rhodes stood in the drop bay, checking her armor seals. Her skin was blackened. With scars, her eyes cybernetically enhanced to see thermal signatures through walls. Her left arm, a carbon fiber replacement, flexed as she lifted her railgun effortlessly. She had been there when the Raxery burned her city. She had joined the Deathworlders the next day. That was 12 years ago. She hadn't smiled since. "This doesn't feel like a trap," she muttered to her squad mate, a 7-foot tank of a man called Torque. "It feels worse." Torque grunted. "What's worse than a trap?" She stared into her helmet display. Graveyard. Back on the bridge, Kale was reviewing a second analysis from Echo Protocol. New data had arrived. More disturbing than before, the alien signal wasn't just a cry for help. It was layered with thousands of dead languages, some extinct for eons. The AI translation unit decoded partial fragments, memory wipe complete, final pulse initiated, archive dying. No time left. Kale's eyes narrowed. This wasn't just a distress call. It was a message from something intelligent, old, and dying. A message meant to warn, not save. Something had been erased. Not just a civilization, an entire history. The Admiral turned to his tactical officer. "How many ships are mission ready?" "All of them, sir," she replied. 72 confirmed. 0 exposure. Full stealth cloaks active. Any chatter from nearby sectors? None. It's like the stars are holding their breath. Kale stared at the black expanse of the viewport. Stars blinked in the distance, silent, uncaring. He tapped a command into his console. "All Deathworlder units, this is Fleet Command. Activate War Protocol Echo Black. We are no longer observers. We are now in combat readiness. Prepare for engagement." Across the fleet, lights dimmed, cloaks thickened, shields powered, warheads armed. No sirens, no music, just a cold, practiced response. This wasn't their first time stepping into the dark. The soldiers moved without questions. They were trained. Not to ask why, only where, and how many are we burning? Then, something unexpected happened. The forward stealth scout ship Vortex, running ahead of the main fleet, sent back its last message. No enemy contact. No weapons fire. Just static. Then, an image. A flash. A planet, fully intact. Orbiting a dead sun, circling that planet. Ships, dozens, hundreds. Shapes no Earth database could identify. Organic hulls, spines like bone. Ships made of flesh and metal. Then darkness. The vortex vanished. No explosion detected. No radiation. No wreckage. It was simply gone. Admiral Kale stared at the transmission. The final frame showed one of the unknown ships turning. Its shape looked almost insect-like, but vast like a leviathan with wings made of stars. It had no lights, no windows. It's just a red circle at the front. A glowing eye, staring directly into the camera. It blinked, and then silence. Kale didn't. "Speak." He walked to the intercom. "All units, adjust mission parameters. We are now facing a confirmed unknown threat. Possible presentient AI or hyper-evolved species. No diplomatic attempts, no extraction plans. We go full combat mode." He paused. "And if we don't return, the galaxy must know we came here by choice, to face the dark." As the Deathworlder fleet moved forward again, faster this time, deeper into the unknown sector, one thing became clear to all of them. They were not the first to respond to this signal, but they might be the last. The Deathworlder fleet moved deeper into the black, their ships silent, cloaked, scanning every corner of space around them. Stars flickered like cold eyes, distant and uncaring. There was no sign of the missing scout ship Vortex. It had simply disappeared. No wreckage, no debris, no distress signal. One moment it was there, the next gone. Vanished as if the dark had swallowed it whole. Admiral Soren Kale stood alone in the Deliverance's war chamber, watching the playback on a loop. The alien vessel with the glowing red eye haunted him, not because it was terrifying to look at, but because it looked back. It had noticed Vortex's camera. Not many things in deep space noticed a cloaked scout ship. But this one had. Kale didn't believe in ghosts, believed in data, in strategy, in force. But this sector felt haunted. It's empty, yet full of something old. The kind of silence that wrapped around the bones of dead civilizations, sir. Commander Voss's voice broke through the quiet. We're picking up a weak signal biometric readings. One life form. Deep inside the asteroid field ahead. Another survivor? Kale asked without turning. Unknown? It's barely alive. Might not last long. Kale gave a single nod. Send in a retrieval squad. Quiet and fast. No risks. Commander Amani Rhodes received the mission and boarded. Her dropship within minutes. She and her team, 6 elite Deathworlders, moved in full stealth mode. No transmissions. No lights, no mistakes. The asteroid field was dense, sharp rocks spinning in low gravity. The pilot weaved the ship through the chaos with expert hands. The signal led them to a massive chunk of iron rock split in half. Inside, hidden beneath layers of dust and radiation, was a small life pod. It pulsed faintly, like a dying heartbeat. Imani opened the hatch and stepped inside, weapon drawn. At first it looked like no one was there. Then she saw it curled in the corner, barely moving. Not human, not like any species on record. Its body was thin, tall, its skin glassy blue, with patterns that shimmered faintly. Its eyes were wide open, glowing softly in the dark. It didn't react to their presence. It just stared. Past them, through them, like it was seeing something far away. Can you understand me? Imani asked, through the translator. No response. She crouched beside it, watching carefully. The creature's chest rose and fell slowly. Then its mouth moved. They never stop, it whispered. Ima leaned closer. Who? They came from below. From the void beneath light. They take everything. They are not hunger. They are absence. The creature began shaking and then, without warning, its body twisted violently. A low frequency filled the room, a sound that didn't come from speakers, but from inside their skulls. A few of the soldiers fell to their knees, clutching their helmets. Then, silence. The life form collapsed, motionless, dead. And yet, something had changed. Back on the Deliverance, the moment the creature died, every ship in the fleet received the same brief signal, a burst of coordinates. Location deeper into the sector inside a gravity well that shouldn't exist. Trap? Commander Voss asked. Definitely, Kale replied. But it's the only lead we have. He stared at the map. No stars lit that space. It was blank. Set course, he ordered. The gravity well sat in the center of the sector like a wound in space. Ships had to lower their shields just to pass through the field. As they entered, interference grew stronger, visuals blurred. Scanners failed, communication cut to short-range bursts only. And then, they saw it, a planet. Small, dark, its surface cracked, glowing red from within. Orbiting it were massive structures, ring-like stations, some broken, some still active, powered by technology no one recognized. The entire system was wrapped in wreckage ships from unknown species, drifting like bones. Every piece looked ancient, melted, torn apart by weapons no one understood. Commander Rhodes led a small recon drop onto the planet. The surface was harsh burning winds, tremors, ash clouds. But buried under the rock, they found it. A vault inside, walls covered in moving symbols, lights that shifted as they watched. The air buzzed with unseen energy. Rhodes activated her. Helmet's internal recorder. We're inside what looks like a memory chamber. she said. This isn't just a building. It's recording us. One wall flashed suddenly, displaying an image, a galaxy spinning backward. Then another stars dying, one by one, like candles snuffed out. A voice echoed in the room, not through speakers, but in their minds. This is not the first time. The voice was layered, thousands of tones speaking as one. They come when the light is strongest. They come to unmake, to end thought, to erase memory. Then the wall showed a familiar face, Earth, blue and white, floating peacefully in space. A red circle appeared above it. They have seen you. They are watching now. Rhodes stepped back, breathing hard. Sir, she transmitted to Kale, whatever's happening here, it's not over. This was a warning, a record left by someone who fought back before and lost. Kale listened, jaw tight. So many questions. Who were they? What did they want? Why now? One thing was clear: this enemy didn't fight for territory or power or resources. It erased, devoured history, silenced entire civilizations as if they never existed. The vortex had been the first to go. Earth could be next. The admiral turned to his crew. Prepare the fleet. We move on that orbital ring. I want answers. I want answers. I want them to know Earth doesn't go quietly. As the ships changed course and the soldiers prepared for whatever was next, one question echoed through every mind. If this was a graveyard, where were the bones? The orbital ring came into view like a metal crown circling a dying planet. Parts of it were still lit, humming with ancient power. Other sections floated in ruins, torn apart by forces far beyond human understanding. As the Deathworlder fleet approached, a strange silence filled every ship. Not just radio silence, but emotional. It felt cold, watching, heavy, as if something just beyond sight was holding its breath. Admiral Soren Kale stood on the command bridge of the Deliverance, his hands clasped behind his back, eyes locked on the growing shape of the ring station. It was massive, spanning thousands of kilometers. Older than Earth's oldest buildings. It's covered in strange spires, long-forgotten weapon mounts, and a kind of black moss growing over its hull like rot. It had not been built by any species in Earth's database. Not human, not Sharathi, not Raxari. It's older than all of them, and it was still alive. Status report, Kale said quietly. Commander Voss answered without hesitation. Energy readings increasing. Sections of the ring are powering up, but not because of us. Something inside is waking up. Kale gave the order. Send in the ghost units. Full stealth. No engagement unless fired upon. 5 Deathworlder. Strike teams launched in silent ships, slipping toward the massive ring-like shadows. Among them was Commander Amani Rhodes. Her dropship coasted through the debris, careful not to touch anything. The moment they breached the outer hull, a strange pulse moved through the metal. Lights flickered. Symbols lit up on the walls, but no alarms, no defenses, just an invitation. Rhodes and her team moved through long corridors lined with shifting walls. The interior wasn't made of metal, not entirely. Some parts pulsed like living tissue. Others were smooth stone, humming with power. There was no gravity. No up or down. Every room was a maze of confusion, like the station was alive and dreaming. Then they found the chamber. It was round. It was filled with empty pod stall, oval shapes big enough to hold a full-grown human. Most were broken, some still held remains. Skeletal figures, long dead heads split open, eyes hollow. But there was one pod still sealed. Inside floated a creature, tall and thin, with elongated arms and smooth skin like dull silver. Its face had no eyes, no mouth. Only a deep red circle glowing where a face should be. It was asleep, but it was dreaming as Rhodes stepped closer. The chamber vibrated. A low hum filled her ears, and then images flashed in her mind. Not thoughts, not words, memories. She saw stars going dark, cities melting, minds torn open like books, whole species falling to their knees, screaming as their skies filled with red circles. It wasn't war, wasn't conquest, it was erasure. The thing in the pod stirred. Rhodes raised her rifle. Sir, I don't think we should be here. Kale's voice crackled through the channel. Understood. Get what you can and pull out. We'll cover you. But it was too late. The station reacted across the entire ring. Lights turned red. Machinery long thought dead came alive. Doors sealed. Pressure dropped. Drones awakened small. Things at first, insect-like machines that buzzed through corridors. Then the larger ones, slithering constructs of metal and flesh with no clear design, no weapons visible. Yet Rhodes could feel the killing intent in them. They're moving, she whispered, and they're not machines. She fired the first shot. The sound echoed through the ring as energy bolts hit one of the drones, tearing it apart. But the others didn't stop. They came forward in silence. No screams, no tactics, just hunger. Rhodes's squad opened fire. Retreating through the corridor, carrying data cores and biological samples they'd ripped from the chamber. She looked back once, just before sealing the inner hatch. The pod was open. The thing inside was gone. Back on the Deliverance, the fleet's sensors lit up. The ring had powered up dozens of unknown systems. Beams of strange energy were forming. Across the structure pointed toward deep space. They're sending a signal, Voss said. To who? Cale asked, though he already suspected the answer. A new burst of data reached the fleet. Not words, not sound, but a feeling. It invaded every mind. A cold pressure, like being watched by something that didn't understand life, something that didn't care. A voice, emotionless, echoed in every soldier's head. You have seen what was not yours to see. You've entered what was meant to remain lost. Now you are known. Cale clenched his jaw. Scramble all fighters. Prepare orbital defenses. And get my Deathworlders out of that hell. The fleet shifted into high alert. Energy shields activated. Warships moved into position. But the enemy didn't attack. Not yet. They wanted something else first. Fear Imani's squad escaped just in time. Their dropship launched from the ring, barely avoiding the automated defense beams now sweeping the station. As they returned to the fleet, Rhodes clutched a small black device one they'd taken from the vault room. It pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. I don't know what this is, she said. But it's not tech. It feels alive. Cale had it sealed in the deepest vault aboard the Deliverance. Even as it was locked away, the crew swore they could hear whispers near the chamber, like someone was talking, but just out of reach. Later that cycle, deep scans finally identified the red circle symbols scattered throughout the station. They weren't art. They weren't language. They were warning signs, used across multiple dead civilizations, different styles, different cultures, but always the same symbol. It's always the same meaning. They are coming. Not a name, not a species. A force, a presence, a hunger wrapped in purpose. Cale stood before his officers, the glow of the stars lighting his face. He looked tired but focused. They're not invaders. Not like the Raxery or the Hiveborn, he said. They don't want to conquer. They don't want territory. They want memory itself. To erase. To feed on thought. History. Identity. He turned to the crew. This isn't war. This is survival. We are already behind. All across the fleet, soldiers prepped for the fight they didn't fully understand. They sharpened blades, loaded plasma cores, synced combat AI. Didn't know what was coming, but they were Earth's Deathworlders. And when something threatened the galaxy, they crossed the stars to answer, even if the enemy had no name. The red eye stared from the darkness of space, pulsing like a heartbeat that did not belong in this universe. It hovered above the shattered orbital ring, like a god watching insects crawl across its ruins. The Deathworlder fleet had seen many. Enemies fought wars across black stars and burning moons. But this was different. It wasn't just an enemy. It was an echo of something older than time. A force meant to end memory itself. Admiral Soren Cale stood at the center of the Deliverance's command deck. Surrounded by shifting holograms, red warning markers dotted the tactical screen energy spikes, unknown vessel movements, gravitational distortions, all leading toward one thing, a massive object moving through the black. Slow but steady, like a predator circling wounded prey. The AI navigator's voice crackled over the deck speakers. Unidentified construct now designated as Entity Prime. Size comparable to Earth's moon. Structure unknown. No communication. No known weapon ports. It is watching. Commander Voss turned from her console. Sir, should we retreat? Regroup at the Helios fallback line? Kale didn't even look at her. No. We strike. If this thing gets past us, it won't stop. Not at Earth. Not at anyone. It will keep feeding. Deleting. This is where it ends. Or we do. The command was given. Full fleet deployment. Every Deathworlder ship uncloaked at once. 64 vessels, each black as night, shaped like blades, beasts, and monsters, moving as one. A terrifying wall of firepower and fury. Fighters. Launched in tight formations. Heavy cruisers charged their siege weapons. War chants echoed through the encrypted comes-not songs of hope, but of defiance. Of death dealt forward. The lead strike group, callsign Hellrain, moved fast. Commander Amani Rhodes piloted one of the heavy assault dropships, her squad of elite Deathworlders packed inside. No fear in their eyes, just readiness. She looked down at her weapon, a railgun forged from alien alloy, humming faintly with a built-in AI that whispered battle data into her mind. Rhodes. Kale's voice came through her helmet. You're on the front, getting close. Find a breach point. We need inside that thing before it fully activates. Understood, she said. If we can't find a door, we'll make one. The attack began. Railguns fired. Plasma beams cut across space. Hyperspic missiles, cloaked in dimensional static, tore through the void and smashed into Entity Prime's surface. Explosions lit the black. The object didn't react. No shields. No counter-dash fire. No sound. Just that single red E glowing. Brighter then, without warning, it moved. Not through engines or propulsion. It simply shifted, like space bent around it. One moment it was 100,000 kilometers away. The next, it was in the middle of the fleet. Chaos erupted. The Ashwaltz, a recon ship, was the first to go split in half by a tendril of black light. No impact, no weapon, just disintegration. Its last transmission was a scream. We're not fighting a ship. More tendrils emerged, thin, long beams of anti-light that reached for ships like fingers. Every time they touched metal, it vanished. No fire, no wreckage, like it had never existed. The fleet opened fire again, this time closer, harder. But still no reaction. Commander Rhodes's dropship made it near the surface of the entity. Close enough to see its texture, not metal, not rock. Something organic. Something moving, as if it were alive. And dreaming. We're at contact. Point, Rhodes reported. Deploying breach team. Her squad shot from the ship, magnetic boots pulling them toward the surface. They landed on something soft, but it held their weight. They used thermal drills, explosive charges. Nothing cut through. Then, door opened. Not a door in the human sense. A slit. A crack. A red glow inside, and they were pulled in. Inside Entity Prime was silence. No gravity. There's no light except the faint red haze pulsing from the walls. The Deathworlders advanced. Weapons raised. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Their suits communicated by pulse data flickers, alerts, formation cues. The hallway they moved through was organic, breathing slightly, like lungs pulling in dead air. Then came the visions. Each soldier began seeing flashes, memories, not their own. A child running from a collapsing city, an alien mother cradling her burned child, a planet being erased pixel by pixel, as if a god hit delete. One of the soldiers screamed and ripped off his helmet. Instantly, the red light poured into his face and he vanished. Rhodes cursed, slamming a code lock on her team's suits. No one removes anything. You feel strange. You report it. You fight through it. We're not dying here. They pressed deeper into the corridor until they reached a chamber. At its center was a Koran orb of red light pulsing with impossible energy. Around it hovered symbols in every known language, and some that were just shapes that made the brain hurt to look at. Commander Rhodes stepped forward, reaching out with a sensor scanner. The moment her fingers got close, the red light reacted. It spoke, not in words, in memory. You are temporary. You build, then decay. You fight, then forget. We are the silence between civilizations. We are not your enemy. We are your conclusion. Rhodes dropped the scanner. Sir, she whispered into her mic. We're not just fighting something ancient. We're fighting entropy. This thing doesn't kill. It ends. It cleans. Like we're dust. Kale heard her, even as his own ship shook from another near disintegration. I don't care if it's God or ghost, he growled. Find its heart and break it. Rhodes pulled out the last weapon in her pack, a pulse-core nuke, designed to collapse black holes, illegal across most of the galaxy. She planted it near the orb. As her team prepared to leave, the walls screamed. Not sound. Not vibration, memory. The creature, or the entity, was afraid. Rhodes smiled. For something that ends worlds, sure don't want to die. They sprinted back as the nuke armed itself. Outside, the fleet gave full cover, opening a path through the anti-light tendrils. Several ships were lost. The Furyborn disintegrated, protecting Rhodes's dropship. The pulse core detonated. A second sun bloomed inside Entity Prime. The red eye flickered. The entire object shuddered. For the first time, it screamed, not in anger, not in rage, but in pain. Then it vanished. Not exploded. Not warped. Just gone. Only the silence remained. Back on the Deliverance, no one cheered. No one clapped. Too many ships were gone. Too many soldiers lost. And no one truly believed the enemy was dead. Admiral Kale sat in his chair, watching the data. The entity had not just vanished, it had folded itself into another layer of space. Retreat. Rethinking. We heard it, Voss said. Maybe even stopped it. Kale shook his head slowly. We warned it. That's all. He turned to his crew. Begin recovery. Prepare a message. To Earth, Voss asked. Kale looked out at the stars. To everyone, because something had changed. The entity had seen them, had learned from them. Next time, Mitt would come ready, and Earth's Deathworlders would be waiting. The battlefield was quiet now. No tendrils of black light. No glowing red eye. The entity was gone or hiding. The Deathworlder fleet drifted in silence, surrounded by the wreckage of their own, the broken pieces of their lost brothers and sisters floating like silent ghosts. Fires burned in the dark, soft blue plumes venting from torn hulls. No victory, no celebration, just survival. But survival had a cost. The pulse core detonation had forced the entity to vanish, but it hadn't killed it. Much. Things like that didn't die so easily. You couldn't end a force built on the concept of ending. All you could do was delay it. By time, and so he ordered the fleet to hold position while search teams moved through the ruins of the ancient orbital ring. If this place was truly old, maybe it held answers, records, evidence, anything that could explain what they were facing. How to stop it. If it could be stopped, it was Rhodes who found the vault. Deep inside the remains of one of the oldest stations, a collapsed dome wrapped in rusted scaffolding and overgrown with alien rot, her team discovered a locked chamber, sealed in 5 different languages. One of them was human. To awaken, this is to awaken memory. Enter only if you are ready to know the truth. Kale gave immediate clearance. The vault opened with a hiss, revealing a massive circular room lined with crystal pillars. Each pillar glowed faintly, humming in resonance. Rhodes stepped forward, and a soft pulse triggered a projection in the center of the room, a holographic star map, rotating slowly. Stars faded in and out of view, each marked with a symbol. At first they looked like coordinates, then they realized they were tombs. The AI translated the symbols. Here fell the Creel Ascendancy. Here faded the Azari Starborn. Here vanished the folded choir. Here was unmade the Mindlink Union. Hundreds of names, thousands, each one representing an entire civilization, gone without record, erased from history, not conquered, not destroyed in war, just gone, like they never existed. All of them victims of the same force. Admiral Kale stood at the center of the room as more pillars activated, showing flashes of time, golden cities crumbling into dust, alien children crying before the sky turned, red fleets forming to fight and vanishing mid-flight. One projection showed a council of 7 species standing in defiance, armed, united, brave. The next frame showed empty chairs, a red circle behind them, and silence. They fought like us, Rhodes whispered. They tried to resist. Kale nodded grimly, and they were erased. Another projection lit up. This time Earth it showed. Humanity rising, cave fires to cities, cities to machines, machines to stars. Then the red eye appeared, watching, waiting, like it had always been there. Just beyond the edge of history, it has been watching us from the beginning, Kale said, waiting for us to be worth consuming. Rhodes stepped forward. But why wait? Why not attack when we were weaker? The room answered, another voice, older than any Earth AI, deeper than any translator's range, filled the vault. The mind must ripen. Identity must be strong. For memory to be delicious. Rhodes flinched. It feeds on memory. Kale's eyes narrowed. Not just knowledge, culture, identity, legacy. That's why it waits. It doesn't want to destroy us. It wants to digest us when we're most developed. The AI voice continued. Some survived. One species escaped. The Ellerin. We do not know where, but they fled with knowledge. Kale perked up. Coordinates. Fragmented. Buried in 3 memory cores. Stored in the vault. The vault opened 3 separate containers. Inside, smooth black cubes, humming with unreadable data. Earth's most advanced AIs couldn't immediately break them. Bring them aboard the Deliverance, Kale ordered. If there's a way out of this, it's locked in here. But the vault had one last warning. As the team turned to leave, one final projection activated. A mirror. It showed Earth's solar system. A red circle had appeared just outside Neptune, and it was growing, not fast, but steadily, patiently. They're coming, Rhodes said. No, Kale said, jaw clenched. They never left, just moved forward. Back on the Deliverance, Earth Command finally responded. The delay was long signal lag, political. Hesitations, perhaps even fear. But the message was clear. Fall back. Protect the home system. Do not bring the infection closer. Kale stared at the words. He knew what they meant. They were afraid Earth's presence here might have drawn the entity's attention, that if they returned, they would bring it home. Maybe they were right, but Kale wasn't about to abandon the fight. He turned to Rhodes. Are the cores secure? Yes, sir, but we still can't open them. Then we find someone who can. Maybe those Ellerin are still out there. Maybe they left a trail. If so, we follow it. Commander Voss looked up from her station. Sir, if we leave the sector, the red eye near Neptune might wake up. Kale gave a grim smile. Then let it, sir. If it's watching Earth. Now, then Earth needs to show it something. Something it remembers. Something it fears. He pointed to the map. Launch the Black Sigil. Tell Earth to prepare the full Deathworlder network. No more silence. No more secrecy. The galaxy cried out for help, and we answered. Now we tell the stars. Earth doesn't run. As the fleet shifted course, 3 things became clear. They were now being hunted. They had become a threat. Entity could no longer ignore. And somewhere out in the ruins of lost galaxies, the Ellerin might hold the secret to fighting back. The galaxy had lost this war many times before, but Earth was not the galaxy. Earth was a death world, and Deathworlders. Don't go quietly. The stars no longer felt safe. Every corner of the galaxy seemed quieter, Sectors that once buzzed with trade, chatter, and life had gone silent, not from war, not from retreat, but from fear. Fear of the red eyes now watching from deep space. Fear of the ancient enemy that didn't invade with ships or armies, but with silence. But Earth was not afraid. Not anymore, in orbit over Mars. The Deathworlder nexus lit up massive construction arrays, defense rings, and war factories long kept hidden from public eyes. Under a blackout protocol known only to the Inner Earth Council, Project Black Sigil was initiated, and every Deathworlder answered the call. Thousands of war veterans came out of stasis. Units once thought decommissioned, reactivated. AI war cores buried in deep planetary bunkers came online with a single, terrifying purpose: prepare Earth for total war. Admiral Soren Kale watched it unfold from his position aboard the Deliverance. Still stationed near the ruins of the entity's wake, he didn't smile. There was no joy in being right. Just the cold weight of knowing they'd awakened a sleeping god. And now, it was coming. Sensors had confirmed the red circles spotted beyond Neptune had doubled in size, but this time, Earth would not be caught waiting. Earth Command has approved total deployment, Commander Voss reported. 3 fleet carriers. Released, orbital weapons charging. Civilian evac already initiated on outer colonies. Kale nodded. Good, that buys us time. He turned to Rhodes, standing beside him. The memory cores from the ancient Volteni progress. Minimal, she replied. We've got basic symbols aligned with Ellerin visual code, but full decryption is taking time. Fully translate their neural encryption? They encoded their history and emotions, memory feelings, like living thoughts. Kale frowned. So we can't read it? Not unless we feel it. Kale didn't like that answer, but they didn't have a choice. They needed to understand the Ellerin, the only known species to survive the entity. And their message locked in those cores might be Earth's only hope. He gave the order. Begin Neuralink trials. We risk it. We're out of options. Rhodes nodded, and Commander Kale added, voice cold but steady, prepare the Omega Spear. Voss looked up sharply. Sir, that's planetary class. We've never tested Kale. Cut her off. It doesn't matter. We're not fighting ships anymore. We're fighting a force that deletes reality. If we get one shot, I want it to count. As Earth's preparations spread across its defense network, something changed in the stars. A single red point, faint but steady, linked into existence above Alpha Centauri. Then another in orbit around a barren moon in the Vexus corridor. Then 3 more near gas giants, ancient ruins, forgotten trade stations. They weren't attacks. They were markers, like beacons or doors. Doors opening, Commander Rhodes was on a shuttle headed to the neural research deck when the readings came in. They're not just coming through one place, she whispered. They're invading from multiple entry points, different parts of space. Simultaneously, Kale stared at the data flood. It was worse than they'd thought. They're not a fleet, he said. They're a flood. And then it happened. The first confirmed kill. A trading outpost near the Aerith Belt, manned by over 14,000 citizens, went completely dark. No explosions, no signals, just gone. Wiped from the system like it never existed. Star charts automatically. Updated as if it had never been built. Only one Deathworlder ship in orbit remained intact. Its pilot screaming into the void before communications cut. They're inside my mind. They're erasing me, double quote static. Another silence, another memory lost. But still held as the red marks spread across the stars. Earth's Deathworlders prepared not just for defense but attack, under Kale's direct command. Operation Graveborn's spear launched. The objective: hit the closest red beacon before it could fully stabilize, and become a portal for the entity's primary form. A Deathworlder fleet of 7 ships, Stormcaller, Bonewake, Havoc's March, and 4 others were dispatched with full Omega payloads. Commander Rhodes led the mission. We know the beacon locations. She briefed her squad. We're going to close them, not with hacking, not with diplomacy, We hit them so hard they shatter before the entity finishes whatever it's building. The fleet dropped from warp. The beacon loomed ahead, massive, shifting geometry that pulsed like a heartbeat. As they closed in, they saw the first defenders, not ships, but shapes. Things made of red light and bone, half-formed, screaming without mouths. Reality twisted around them. Rhodes gave the command. Fire all forward weapons. The Deathworlders didn't flinch, didn't pause. They launched into the impossible. Explosions ripped through the dark. The beacon shook. The red circle at its core flickered. Then, for a brief moment, the entity reacted. Not just locally, but everywhere. The red eye over. Neptune flared in rage, and Earth heard it. A psychic pulse echoed across all frequencies. You refuse oblivion. You cling to noise. Then we will silence you first. Kale felt it in his bones. The entity had changed its strategy. It was coming straight for Earth now, and yet, Earth stood. The attack on the beacon had worked. The structure destabilized, then collapsed inward, vanishing in a flash of burning light. It wasn't a final victory, but it was a message. Earth would not go quietly, and more importantly, Earth could hurt them. Commander Rhodes limped back aboard the Havoc's march. Her armor cracked, her arm bleeding, but her eyes clear. Send the data to Admiral Kale, she said. Tell him the beacon bled. That means it can die. The deliverance. Kale finally allowed himself a breath. Then he turned to the comms officer. Patch me through to all remaining Allied systems. Even the ones that abandoned us. They need to hear this. He faced the camera, his voice firm and sharp. This is Admiral Kale of Earth's Deathworlder fleet. You thought we were monsters. You called us savages. You locked us out of your golden federations. But when the void came for you, we answered. If you want a live stand with Earth, if you want to survive, fight beside us, because we never run. We are Deathworlders, and we will show this galaxy how to fight. Message went out. To every star system, to every species. The galaxy had cried out for help once. Now, Earth was calling them back, because the real war was just beginning. The red circle over Neptune swelled like a wound in the sky. Across Earth's orbit, the Deathworlder fleet stood reticent, focused, waiting. Massive orbital cannons powered by the Earth core's magma belt hummed with energy.
The Mars were foundries.
Belched fire, completing the last wave of Omega-class gunships. The skies over Earth were no longer blue. They were lined with steel, flame, and resolve. The galaxy watched, most from the shadows, some from behind barricades of their own. A few sent scouts or messages, whispering fear and hope in equal measure. But Earth didn't wait for help. It never had, because the void had come to end memory. And Earth's Deathworlders weren't just going to fight. They were going to burn. The stars back, inside the deliverance. Admiral Kale reviewed the final combat plan. The Ellerin. Memory cores finally decrypted had revealed two terrible truths. 1. The entity had done this before. Thousands of times. It was a pattern, a cycle. Watch, wait, consume. 2. It could be stopped. Not with weapons. Not with firepower, but with memory. The Ellerin had tried to fight it physically and failed. But when they encoded their history fused it into the quantum essence of a star, they had created something the entity could not touch, a living record, immune to deletion. The star had burned so brightly and fused with so much meaning, it had pushed the void back, and that gave Earth an idea. Kale turned to his command crew. This won't be a battle. It will be a message. Commander Rhodes, now promoted and scarred from the beacon raids, nodded. Then let's make it a message the void never forgets. Kale smiled grimly. Exactly. Let's teach the void to remember. Operation Starfire began at 0300 GMT. The plan was simple. Insane, but simple. Earth's engineers had built a structure in orbit, a massive spike of encoded data, emotion, and memory. Every story, every death, every birth, every fight, every act of love, hate, and defiance stored in layered quantum processors, sealed inside a warhead the size of a city. They called it Echoheart. Its target, the red circle over Neptune, The mission: fire it into the entity, not to destroy, but to infect it with memory. With us, Deathworlder ships led the charge: the Stormcaller, Deliverance, Black Howl, and Iron. Mercy formed the attack wedge. Behind them flew dozens of support ships, carrier wings, and rogue units from alien species who'd chosen to stand with Earth after. Kale's message spread across the stars. The entity reacted instantly. Tendrils of Antalites surged forward. Ships evaporated. Screams echoed across channels. Some minds simply vanished, lost to the silence that followed. But Earth didn't break. They pressed forward. Rhodes's strike team boarded the Echo Heart capsule mid-flight, securing it through a battlefield of chaos. Inside the payload chamber, the red pulse of the core was nearly blinding. Every soldier felt it, memories flooding their minds, their own pasts.
Other stories.
Generations of love, war, and music. All of humanity compressed into one terrible, beautiful weapon. Rhodes keyed in the ignition sequence. "This is what makes us different," she whispered. "We remember," and launched it. The Echo Heart ignited as it pierced the red circle. The entity screamed not with sound, but in every direction, in every mind. Across the system, people felt it. Rage, confusion, pain. It had never been wounded like this. It had never been understood. The memory bomb exploded, releasing not fire, but meaning. It spread in waves. Stories, faces, laughter, death, resistance. A mother holding her child, soldier throwing himself on a grenade. A song played in the rain. Earth. It couldn't erase it. The void recoiled. The red circle fractured inside the chaos. Kale gave the final command. All ships fire. Everything. Lasers, railguns, planet buster missiles, plasma storms. The sky turned white with fury, and Earth screamed with it. The entity began to break apart. Not like metal cracks, but like doubt. For the first time in its infinite existence, it hesitated. What was this? What kind of creatures fought not just with weapons, but with memory, with the refusal to be forgotten? The red eye shattered, the tendrils burned, the void shrank, imploding inward like a dying star, and then silence. A different silence. Not cold, not watching, just peace. Later, the survivors gathered in orbit over Earth, ships damaged, crews reduced, but alive. Kale stood before the final transmission beacon. To the entire galaxy he spoke. "We are Earth. We are Deathworlders. You cried out for help. And we came. We faced the thing that ends stars. We made it remember us. This is not the end. This is the beginning. We will rebuild. We will remember. If it ever returns, we will be waiting." The message burned across space, embedding into deep space relay arrays, seeding the stars with Earth's defiance. And across the galaxy, other civilizations began to rise again, because they now knew. There was a way to fight back, and Earth had. Shown it with fire, with blood, with memory, and with the simple truth no void could erase. Deathworlders never forget.